Welcome to the newest episode of The Process of Fat Loss, where our goal is to help you understand the best way to lose fat and live a healthier life. Join us as we discuss some of the toughest and most valuable topics in health and fitness. We talk a lot about nutrition on the show, and the reason is that it's one of the biggest things people struggle with and have questions about. But if you remember all the way back to our first episode, where we talked about our nutrition is only one of the 5 pillars of fat loss we talked about on that episode. So today, we're going to be tackling one of the other pillars, which is exercise. You probably know exercise is important for fat loss, but what kinds of exercise is best for fat loss? That is what we're going to answer today, and I will start by asking this. What would you say is the most common belief about exercising for fat loss?
Cardio, cardio, cardio. That's all you've ever heard to help you lose weight for exercise. But what if I told you that even though cardio does make a calorie deficit, it's much less efficient way to utilize for exercise for fat loss?
So when we look at fat loss, we want it to be something we can sustain. So what are some factors that can make one type of exercise more effective than another when it comes to fat loss?
It comes down to muscle just burns more calories in the long term. And that's what we're looking for. When we're looking at everything, we're looking for long-term weight loss. So there are different aspects that we can take into account when worrying about fat loss. There's immediate fat loss, there's fat loss over a year, and there's maintenance of fat loss over a lifetime. Muscle helps maintain fat loss over a lifetime. And that's a really important key because clients don't come to us with just wanting to lose 20 pounds now. They want to lose 20 pounds and keep it off forever. And that's really important. For every pound of muscle you build, you get an extra 10 calories of fat burning. That doesn't sound like much, but if you gain 5 pounds of muscle, you'll have an extra 50 calories per day that you'll burn every day forever. Take that, multiply by 365 days a year. Over 30 years, you burn an extra 547,500 calories by just putting on a little bit of muscle. 5 pounds of muscle is not even that much muscle, but you do that and you maintain that benefit forever. So long that you get that. So gaining strength is really important. Another great thing is that if you take a week or two off from doing cardio, you have no extra calorie deficit. Meaning I burn 400 calories doing elliptical. If I don't do the elliptical that day, I don't burn 400 calories. But if you put on an extra 3 pounds of muscle during that 2 weeks that you're off, you'll actually burn an extra 420 calories, even if you don't exercise for the day. So if I don't do my elliptical, I don't burn 400 calories. If I gain 3 pounds of muscle, I still burn 420 calories. So the benefit long-term is that muscle is going to continue to give me extra calorie burn forever.
Is it enough to just gain a little bit of muscle and be done with it? Or is there any reason we would want to continually be putting on muscle and getting stronger?
Progressively overloading the muscles to be progressing overload the muscle means to neurologically stimulate them needs to be done consistently. This activation of the muscle forces the metabolism to go into overdrive as it's trying to figure out how to overcome the stress load to put on the body. More muscle activation causes more calorie burn. This is true during the workouts, but also true for 6 to 8 hours after workout. They refer to this in the fitness industry as afterburn. So it is very important to continue to get stronger over a long period of time because now we're talking about strength, but strength and muscle gain, we're kind of putting in the same category, meaning if this is a fitness person listening to this, they talk more about hypertrophy, like muscle size, but the same thing with looking at strength, being able to gain muscle size. But it is very important because as we gain that little bit of muscle over a long period of time, we get that calorie burn, but we got to keep that muscle activated, right? So if we keep that muscle activated by exercising and strength training consistently, we still get that excess calorie burn for 6 to 8 hours every single day by activating those muscles more intensely, getting that neurological center driven.
So you mentioned the afterburn effect. Are there any other ways that building muscle can help burn extra calories after a workout?
Tissue recovery. So every time we work out, specifically strength training, we break down muscle tissue. This damage is how our body actually builds a stronger layer of tissue to make the body more resilient. So I think maybe it's more known than it was before, but for a lot of new people, they don't realize that actually what we're doing when we're exercising is taking the muscle tissue and literally just ripping it apart. And then the process of rebuilding that muscle tissue is actually where we get bigger, stronger, more muscular. Well, it takes a lot of repair work. That repair work costs calories. Our body has to use calories to go in and repair all that tissue. So as it comes to repair that tissue and starts layering that muscle tissue back on, it's using inflammation to help that. So inflammation is good in this sense. It's bringing in white blood cells to go ahead and repair that tissue. So it's using a lot of energy to be able to replace that or to repair that thing. So there's an energy cost to repairing this tissue. So the metabolism has to work overtime by doing this strength training. When doing cardio, yeah, we do have a little bit of muscle break, but not to the massive scale that weightlifting does, right? So every step in, let's say we're running as cardio, every step in running while cardio, we are doing a little bit of trauma, right? Because we're hitting. Longer distance, yes, but we're also building up so much inflammation at the same time that we're not out being, the body has to use the inflammation, has to help reduce the inflammation. So it's not going to repair those muscles as well. But for strength training, we have very little very little inflammation, and we're going to break that tissue apart more intensely. And because that tissue is broken apart more intensely and we have little inflammation, the little bit of inflammation we do have can go and help repair that muscle tissue.
I was actually discussing my next question for you with someone just a few days ago, and it's one I hear all the time, and it's that adding muscle will cause you to look bulky. Is there any truth to that?
The truth is, for females, males and females. We're going to look at this from a female category more than the male category. So most females do worry about getting bulky when weight training. So they do just skip the weights. It's actually very hard though for a female to gain muscle quickly, right? Men can gain muscle a lot faster. Again, I'm not worried about that. Most guys don't really worry about getting more muscular. But the most a female can gain of muscle mass in a year is about 12 pounds. And that's for an elite bodybuilder. So I'm talking about that person that's in the gym an hour and a half every day, 6 days a week, and they're focused on purely bodybuilding. And most of those bodybuilders are probably there even longer period of time. That person can gain 12 pounds in a year max. So if you're somebody that's just doing 3 days a week of training like our program recommends for about 45 minutes to an hour, you're honestly going to be very lucky to gain 3 to 5 pounds of muscle in a year. So when we say gain 5 pounds of lean mass in a year, we're going to expect that's going to happen over a couple years. So you're not even going to gain a lot of muscle in general. Another thing to kind of think about too, when it comes to like looking bulkier, is if you haven't lost the body fat yet and you gain a little bit of muscle, you are going to look a little bit bulkier, right? Because we got to deplete the body fat so that muscle becomes more shredded. This is a conversation I've even had with my wife, Erica, is like when we haven't been doing a lot of like low calorie kind of stuff. And so she's been gaining muscle mass and she feels like she looks bulkier. I was like, well, once we cut down the calorie range a little bit, we can get leaned out for the beach season. So as we got ready for our wedding, she got really lean and that muscle mass just showed up so much cleaner, but it was a little bit bulky as we were getting to that point because she was putting muscle under a little bit of body fat. So there's also what's called the testosterone equation that makes it hard for females to gain muscle. So a female naturally has lower testosterone than men do. It's also a reason why men that struggle with their testosterone levels have trouble gaining muscle as well. So if their testosterone is low, they're going to have trouble gaining muscle in general. So females just don't have enough testosterone. So they can't gain muscle nearly as fast as a male can. So if you feel like you are getting bulky from weight training, it's normally the fact that you have extra inflammation in the body trying to recover that muscle tissue. And then as you start to decrease that body fat, that muscle will really look lean. So it comes down to being like, if you're just going to do strength training and not work on your nutrition, maybe you will get looking bulkier, but you should be working on your nutrition, trying to get that body fat leaner as you go along.
What is your main point that our listeners can take away from today's discussion?
The main point we're looking at when it comes to strength training is we need to build a more metabolically driven body that has to burn more calories day in and day out. This might not make as big of a difference as the calorie deficit you get from cardio in the first 60 to 90 day weight loss journey. So in the first 60 to 90 days on a weight loss journey and doing cardio, you'll probably lose more weight than if you focus more on strength training. But when you stack that over 6 to 9 months and you've built that muscle tissue up, and then you stack that even more over a lifetime, it makes fat loss so much easier. So we had a podcast recently where we talked about realistic change, right? What you can change in a certain amount of time. And when it comes down to the idea is like, if you give yourself that 12-month window to lose weight, that strength training will really be beneficial for you. If you only give yourself a 30 to 60 day window, yeah, cardio is probably going to be a little bit more important because you have a more calorie deficit there. But we're training people for a lifetime. We're not training people for a short period of time. Another thing to think about is strength training is at least 3 days a week. So you need to train at least 3 days a week on muscle building. Otherwise, you won't build enough muscle mass needed. 3 to 5 days max. I don't think we need to go any more than 5 days max when it comes to strength training. Make sure you're increasing your weight load over time to continue to get more dense tissue. So example would be, let's say you're doing a goblet squat. And you're doing a goblet squat with a 30-pound dumbbell. If you stay at that same 30-pound dumbbell for the next 40 years, you're not going to get any stronger. That thing has to slowly increase over time, right? So that we start to build more and more lean muscle tissue.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our discussion today about strength training and kind of the impact it has on fat loss. A little bit of a change up from what we usually talk about nutrition here. Remember, the best time to start living healthier is today, so make sure to take action in your life right away. If you did enjoy today's episode, please give us a review. You can do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also like us on YouTube. You can subscribe on all of those things as well and follow us on social media to stay up to date on upcoming episodes and different topics that we're talking about. If you have any ideas for topics that you might want us to talk about or discuss here or any questions, be sure to let us know by sending us an email, or you can even message us on social media and we'll try to talk about those questions or topics that you have. Thanks again, and I hope you will join us for the next episode of The Process of Fat Loss.
All right, guys, remember, strong is the new skinny. Have a great day.